February 28th, the US and Israel teamed up and fired missiles at Iran, sending Khamenei to his grave on the very first day. The kind Americans, fearing Khamenei would be lonely, sent 48 top Iranian officials and his whole family to join him. But his death itself wasn't the biggest deal. The real point is that it made his close bro, China, the biggest victim. This hit China hard. A chain reaction. It changes everything for the whole world. Today we'll talk mostly about this. Watch this video and you'll understand everything. First, it represents the collapse of the myth of China's military industry and a loss of trust. This is a huge blow to China's domestic and international propaganda. Iran was equipped with China's HQ series air defense missiles and used Chinese-made anti-stealth radar systems. However, these so-called high-tech tools failed to prove effective when Venezuelan President Maduro was suddenly sent to New York for study in January. At the time, this could be seen as chance, and Chinese military experts could still offer explanations. But in this decapitation strike against Iran, these same devices became just decorations. The weakness of these so-called high-tech Chinese-made gear to the US military is now very clear. This directly led to the collapse of the front of confrontation that the CCP wanted to build against the US. These paper-thin weapons of the CCP can't even hold back a single old friend. I always thought that Chinese-made products were good for foreigners, but bad for the Chinese themselves. Turns out, they were bad even for the foreigners. Now, I'm at peace with myself. Therefore, the first chain reaction will be a huge blow to China's friend. A major reason for their alliance with China was to obtain advanced weaponry to support their authoritarian rule. However, the experiences of Maduro and Khamenei demonstrate that Chinese weapons are unreliable. The leaders of these small authoritarian states would also think, "I treated you, China, like a big brother, but you sell me garbage?" It seems you are still unreliable. Looking at a longer timeline, from the fall of Hasina and Assad in 2024 to the fall of Maduro and Khamenei this year, these were all supposedly good friends of the Chinese people. What? Is this what happens when you're considered a good friend? I need to run away quickly. Therefore, the attitudes of China's former allies may quickly shift after this event. The second blow is the deterrent effect of decapitation strikes, particularly against Chinese leaders. From the US drone strike that killed Soleimani in 2020, to the 2-hour arrest of Maduro earlier this year, and now Iran. The US is sending a clear warning to all authoritarian leaders. They have the world's best intelligence. They have the best military. If any of you kids disagree, feel free to raise your hands and volunteer. We uncles will fly an F-35 to your house for a friendly exchange. So, wouldn't the CCP leadership panic when they see this? Consider this. Their status in China might be lower than these presidents, yet these leaders can be killed so easily. If they face a similar situation in the future, won't they suffer the same fate? Therefore, these CCP leaders will start installing radar while sleeping. Otherwise, they might be sent to meet Marx by drone one day. Internally, they will be more careful. First, they'll stop the aggressive diplomatic talk. Second, they'll stop fighting with the US for a while. They'll even use Trump's April visit to China to fix things. Within the CCP, the Iran incident will also impact Xi Jinping's power. The Iranian events showed the entire CCP leadership that a country's leader can die so easily. A devastating blow to a dictatorship. To prevent similar tragedies, voices within the CCP leadership will undoubtedly call for Xi to appoint a successor and begin preparations for power succession, which will significantly weaken Xi's authority. Of course, Xi Jinping, as China's current powerful leader, will not sit idly by. He might use the large number of spies exposed in the Iran incident as a pretext to conduct a large-scale internal investigation. But how this event will ultimately unfold remains to be seen. That must be another big show. The even bigger problem is that people aren't scared of war anymore. Look at the recent Iran conflict, for example. It was basically a war, but I felt nothing because it was so fast. Not many people died, and regular people were totally safe. Only the big bosses got hit. Honestly, that's a perfect war. Before this, the CCP's propaganda said war would kill your family, your friends, and your kids. Of course, all the people will join the army to protect their country, but the US military just changed the whole game. Now people see that war has nothing to do with them. Their families won't die. Only the powerful officials who boss them around will die. People will just sit back and watch. They might even cheer for the US F-35s. So, this totally ruins the CCP's brainwashing. It's getting harder to trick people into fighting for Taiwan. Even if the US military storms Zhongnanhai, the Chinese people might just rush there to film TikToks. They'll be recording happy moments while it happens. How could the leaders accept that? Now, our dear CCP leaders are totally breaking down. They are screaming in the news that targeting a leader is immoral. So they've finally stopped pretending. They really think their lives are more precious than everyone else's. Next, let's look at the last big mess, the oil problem. China is the world's biggest oil buyer, and Iran is their favorite spot for cheap oil. By 2025, China will be buying over 1 million barrels every single day. Why do they love it? Because it's so cheap. And Western countries can't stop them. But wait, this war just put the Strait of Hormuz in a total jam. That's the world's most important oil pipe. 20 million barrels go through it every day. China alone gets 5 million barrels from there. That's half of all the oil they buy. If Iran blocks the way, or if the government there falls and joins the US, China is stuck. The US will have them by the throat. And get this, Trump have just signed a new order, a 25% tax on anyone trading with Iran. We all know who that's for. It's a direct slap in the face for China. China's 3 cheap oil friends, Venezuela, Iran, and Russia, are all falling apart. Venezuela is a joke now. Iran's ongoing war will create greater uncertainty for oil supplies. Buying oil from these bad guys was always a high-risk move. Look at Maduro. Now look at Iran. That's both prove this point. China is like a popped balloon now. They have no idea what to do. If the Russia-Ukraine war ends soon and Russia makes up with the US, China is in big trouble. Russia won't care about China anymore. Then China will have to buy oil at full price like everyone else. Their economy is already so weak. When the money stops growing, the CCP will start to lose control. Man, let us witness history. This is actually great news for the whole world, because I think the way the CCP acts in all this mess is just embarrassing. They're behind almost every war, and they've made world trade totally unfair. Today, I don't plan to go into detail here. I'll talk about it later. But let me ask you one question. Since Xi Jinping and the CCP got more power, is the world any better? Or is it way worse? It's because the CCP showed its evil side that the world is in such a crazy mess right now. If China could just be a normal democratic country in the future, our lives would be so much better. We can't deny it. The Chinese people are hardworking and super creative. But the truth is, China is a dictatorship and too strong. Even if the US and NATO started a war with them, nobody knows if the CCP would actually fall. That's why finding a way to break their power without a bloody war is a huge deal. By the way, I think Iran and the CCP are built exactly almost the same way, so I'm going to talk about it. Don't go anywhere.